Welcome everybody to another episode of Wrestling Therapy. The chair has been filled. I, of course, am your host, Suji, and today we have a new guest in the chair. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Heathen Moose. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm a little bit of a problem child when it comes to wrestling because I'm a way more analytical and I'm a bit of an asshole. Watch a little bit of everything. I've watched everything back through the 60s, TNA, New Japan, ECW, All Japan. I've watched a bit of NWA, WCW, everything. And I tend to be more of a heel fan than a face fan.
What was your first memory growing up watching wrestling that made you like, I love this?
So originally, when I started watching, I got into it because my older sister at the time in the very early 2000s, the guy she was dating was a huge wrestling fan of Booker T. So he would take her to the shows, come back, we'd watch shows at the house when I was real little, and I was always more of a fan of the big beefy, monsters. And the main one I remember when I first started getting into it, like on my own, was actually twofold, which was Abyss in TNA and Kane on SmackDown. So I kind of got like a little bit of an initial, introduction with it. And then when I started watching, I saw TNA, saw Abyss, and went, "This motherfucker's crazy," and I want to watch more of this. Same thing with Kane, because when I first started watching, it was the build up between Kane and Rey Mysterio at the Great American Bash back in the day.
Okay. So, okay, interesting. I don't hear a lot of people give Kane the credit that he deserves. Kane was a very athletic big man for, that time period. I've
Oh,
seen Kane
absolutely.
pull off a Harvard Karana. Like,
For someone who started as a Christmas tree back in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, Kane is definitely like upgraded, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. Even the other like wrestlers in the locker room talk about how crazy athletic and strong he was, and the fact that you could put him in there with anybody on any given night, and he could pull out a decent show. I mean, he pulled out decent matches with Great Khali, Big Daddy V. I mean, Snitsky wasn't his fault.
no, it
You
wasn't
give
that.
him
Putting
you
the
give
baby
him
in the
something to
crowd.
run with. Yeah. You give him something to run with, and Kane is the most dependable big man, and I would say top three big man of all time.
Can't forget Dr. Isaac Yankum.
Or fake Diesel.
Yeah, Ulrich Diesel. Who would be your top three big men since you brought that up?
I would honestly go with Kane. Obviously, I would go with The Undertaker because you don't build WWE, let alone WrestleMania, the way they did without him and his streak. And then, as much as Andre gets put up there, I would put Big Show over Andre. Only because Big Show was able to work better on the mic, better in the ring, and build that character more, and be more dependable no matter where he was put. Whereas Andre was good back in the 70s, but by the time he was main mainstream, he didn't have the athletic ability anymore, and he was hard for most audiences to understand.
Yeah, he also had a lot of health issues going on during that
Right.
time as well. That kind of hindered his success. Some would say. I mean, he still had a lot of success, but
Yeah, and
when
it
you're going
affected
through all that,
his mental health as well, which I believe also took away from what he was bringing to WWE at the time, because he just didn't have the same drive.
so what current shows are you watching right now that has your interest?
So currently, I still watch some clips from Raw, SmackDown, NXT, only just to keep up with some of the newer stars. But primarily, I
Like
switched
who?
over fully to AEW. From NXT, my main guy is Oba Femi. That
The
man
Ruler.
has the ruler. The man has caught my attention since day one. The first time I saw him against Dragon Lee, he just chucked that bastard. I'm like, all right, you got me. I'm your fan now. You're just throwing mofos. Um, his like chest slaps, his aura, the way he presents himself, it's just absolutely incredible. And as long as they don't tear that away from him, like they did with Cross when they call him up to the main roster, he's main event within the next 5 6 years.
I don't disagree with that at all. What about on Raw and
Uh,
SmackDown?
Raw and SmackDown, I'm a huge Bronson Reed guy. I always have. I loved when he actually got released and they went to New Japan and he beat Okada in the G1 that year. I think Bronson's honestly way too underrated, even with his tribal thief gimmick. For a big man, he moves way too well. He presents himself well. He's not the tallest guy, but that doesn't matter when you have 340 pounds dropping on you with a tsunami.
Yeah,
And
it's like somebody drop
just
a wrecking ball on your chest.
the little like mental aspects that he's brought where he's been interviewed and he talks about instead of just getting to the top rope and jumping, the fact that he does the step off and the little arm movement to make it more like unique to him, I think shows that he's much more ring psychological than most people give him credit for. And that's going to help him. I see him holding maybe not the world title in the next couple years, but definitely a few singles titles. Especially when they're giving it to fucking Braun Breaker spearing half the roster through walls. Um, Another guy, incredibly fun to watch. Big fan of Rick and Scott Steiner, and the fact that he used the Steiner math and brings that aura still is great. Obviously, a lot of the women are doing well. Gotta love Rhea, Io, Asuka. But honestly, the one who's gotten me the most over this year has been Lyra Valkyria. I was very hesitant about.
Okay,
Yeah, I was very
now
hesitant about her in NXT, but on the main roster, she's been absolutely incredible.
it's I find that not funny as in haha, but funny as in ironic. I have another friend of mine. I actually have two people that I've had on this show before, and they do not like Lyra Valkyria at all. So I'm so glad you mentioned her. What is it about Lyra Valkyria that you like? Because I don't dislike her. I don't think she's bad at all, but I'm not like, oh my goodness, it's Lyra. But give me your opinion on her.
So, what I think puts a lot of people off of her at first is just the presentation. Because she comes out with almost the Pete Dunne get up where it's just the kick pads, no knee pads. The fact that she's got the giant, bird wings coming out, which throws everybody off. And the fact that she's just so small but doesn't perform like most of the small female wrestlers that they have. But if you look since she's been brought up to the main roster, she hasn't been putting on any kind of bad matches. You look at when she went against Nia Jax for Queen of the Ring, that was an incredible match. And I mean, most people thought she fucking died when Nia dropped on her while she was standing up. She's put on
I
great
was
matches
like,
with
shit.
Bayley. Yeah. I was watching that with my wife, who she rarely watches with me, and she's like, "Is she dead?" And I'm like, "No, no, her ribs are moving. She's breathing. She just doesn't look like she's enjoying it." uh, but you have great matches with Nia Jax. You have a great rivalry with Becky Lynch, both in NXT and then on the main roster. You have this weird schizophrenic run with Bayley right now, where she's trying to get her back. I can't honestly think of a bad match she's had, and even the stories she's been giving, she's worked with well.
Yeah, her matches with Becky were I enjoyed those matches. I thought those were really good matches.
Oh yeah, especially their no holds barred match where she's getting cuffed and fighting back with no hands. They're bringing out all the weapons. Bayley gets involved. Like honestly, that was better than most of the men's matches, especially no DQ matches the men's have been putting on. Even if it wasn't as bloody as some of them get or as incredibly brutal, the ring psychology of it put it over
Mm.
for me.
All right, here's another question. You mentioned ring psychology. When you when you're watching wrestling, what is it are you looking for out of a wrestling show? Are you looking for match quality? Are you looking for promos that get you excited for the match? Is it presentation? Is it atmosphere? Or what is it out of a wrestling show? Whatever show it is you watch.
So it can't ever really be only one of those. For any given wrestling show, you're going to need different aspects of each of those performing well. So one of the things that I like about AEW that I liked about early 2000s WWE is every time they go to a new arena, they do a pay-per-view. They make sure to give it some kind of unique stage design. With the smaller ones up on the East Coast, they give it the old ECW feel, like in the Hammerstein Ballroom. You go to All Out, it's got the big grand entrances out to the ring. You go to Jacksonville, Florida, they have their own setup there. It's different on each show. Versus WWE, it's a giant LED board every day of the week, including WrestleMania most times. Versus WrestleMania 26. That was the first show I went to, and I will never forget the giant splattering of screens going all the way up as people came out like Edge and Jericho and Michaels, and now it's just here's a screen. Like WrestleMania 40 was a screen with an XL in front of it. You got to give it that unique personality for it. When it comes to promos, it's honestly, and you could see with WWE that they've given them more just bullet points instead of just straight up scripts. But when it comes to the promos, I like when they interact with other wrestlers, even when they're not necessarily in the story. That's one of the things I loved about the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, is you could have someone like Funaki, who's clearly not in any main stories, but he'll run around and interact with the APA or with Cena or with Edge or whoever, just get a little bit of screen time and build their character up more. Versus now you have on Raw and SmackDown the same promos every week, the same characters, the same recycling. I love LA Knight. You can't tell me he's not just a Rock Austin in the modern era. We've heard it all before, and he can't say the same things they were able to say, as good as he is. Versus you have
Yeah.
AEW, you have Kyle Fletcher, who is absolutely blowing me away this year, who from his turn on Osprey to now, you can see how well his promos have gone and how well he's able to present himself as the protostar, the megastar coming on up, where it's not, hey, we're just fighting because I'm told, we're doing a story. It's, I'm here to prove why I'm here, and you get that feeling out of him. It's not just, hey, we're pushing this to the next PLE in 2 weeks. It's, this is important to me because I need to build myself as the protostar. You get that passion. And then
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was like, in even as far as like the quality of the matches in the ring, WWE versus AEW, you have NXT putting on better matches 9 times out of 10 than Raw or SmackDown. You have Jey Uso, not a fan of Jey Uso. I liked him as a tag team. I do not like a singles run. But you have the same matches and the same points every week in between all the ads versus AEW, where you may have the same matchup, Kyle versus Kyle Fletcher and Kyle O'Reilly. Their matches are not the same. You have different build-up points. You have limb targeting. You have different interference with Don Callis having half a roster by himself. You have different target points that keeps it more refreshing. And I think that's what it is wrestling is a buffet where if you're just recycling the same things every week like TKO and WWE are doing, you're going to make it stale. AEW is giving them freedom. They change it up week to week to week.
You had mentioned earlier when I asked you about the shows, you watched only the clips of WWE essentially, and I'm assuming you watched AEW fully. What was the breaking point for you to transition over to like, yeah, I'm just gonna stick with AEW and catch WWE whenever?
So for me, it honestly has been how TKO has presented WWE this past year. So the fact that they cut WrestleMania and took it from New Orleans and went, no, we're going to go back to Vegas because we need to make this money. Hey, we don't care if you're going to pay for ad-free television on, Netflix. We're still going to cram half to 70% of the show is just going to be ads. Hey, we're going to have a billion different sponsors on the ring. You have, you know, them going to Saudi Arabia, which say what you will about, the people aren't the government, but the contracts with the government, they know what they're doing. And you've already had them being held hostage over there one of the first couple of years. How they deal with the women. The fact that the last time they were over there, how bad the crowd was for Bianca really was off putting to me because you're taking one of your top females and putting her in the position where she's just getting shit on in a whole other country because you just want that money. You don't care about your roster. And the fact that they're just so focused on every 2 to 3 weeks we need a PLE and we need to push as much sponsorship and money as we can versus AEW is all about their fans. Say what you will about the death matches and some of the silly shit like Orange Cassidy. At the end of the day, they care about their fans. They're there to serve the fans. And that's why I'm like, I will always put that over, especially even you take someone like Brody King. So I watch a lot of indies. I didn't really hear about him before AEW. And you have him making moves where he's, putting up the abolish ice, the fuck ice shirts, and then taking the money and giving it to the people affected by it. You're not going to see people doing that in WWE. The closest you get is Sami Zayn or CM Punk wearing the colors of Palestine. But they're not able to say what they want. AEW, you can. And I think that's one of the things that really drove me away from WWE over is you need to be able to have the people express themselves. Because if they're not passionate about what they're saying, they're not going to be passionate in the ring. And you already see that from some of the people in WWE. Like, it's incredible how much you can tell the difference when someone cares about their work when they have the freedom to say what they want.
I think that's not just even in wrestling. That's in life as well.
Oh, 100%.
I don't disagree with anything you saying. I have another friend of mine, John. He's a he's an AEW fan as well, and he kind of echoed the same sentiments that you did about AEW. And it's not crazy to think that within the next 3 to 5 years, WWE could be in a situation where people are being priced out of their shows. It's before with TKO, you and a family of four could probably go to a show, $600, $700 probably, if you want decent seats. Now it's like 20 grand, 30 grand, 40 grand for a seat, like just the seat.
Oh,
And
yeah.
AEW is so much more fan friendly, as you mentioned before.
Not even just the ticket prices. If you go to most AEW shows, the roster is more willing to meet with fans outside of the arena, at the different like meet and greets. They're more willing to take the time and do shit. Like I had posted a video talking on TikTok about Brody King and the fact that I love some of the shit that he's doing and that he says. And I actually had someone put out a comment like, "Hey, I got to meet him at like a bar nearby or a WrestleCast or whatever it was, and he signed Fuck Ice on an action figure of himself, no cost or anything. Just hey, I know you're a fan. We got to talk for a minute. I'm gonna sign this and give it to you, and that's I think awesome." Versus WWE, it's they're locked in. They have to do certain meet and greets. They have to follow within certain guidelines. They don't get to do a lot of that, and now they're just over encumbered. It's that
I, I,
how you interact.
I will say this though about the WWE superstars in particular. A lot of wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans cross the line when it comes to getting autographs.
Oh yeah,
Me
100%.
personally, if 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 I was at an airport and I saw Rhea Ripley, I'm not gonna run up to her like, "Hey, can I get an autograph?" Because one, she's trying to get somewhere. Two, she just came from somewhere. The last
Mm-hmm.
thing you want is somebody shoving an action figure, and it's not just one thing. They'll sit there and be like, "Oh, they have an armful of shit that they want them to sign," and then it gets to the dangers where they start crowding you. And I think that's the difference. I think with the AEW side of that, they are more receptive because of how they are at the shows.
Right.
with them. And that's a fair point.
I also think
What?
it, as far as like wrestling fans, it is very appalling how they interact with some of the wrestlers. Like you said, if you just got off a plane, especially if, let's say from like Saudi Arabia is like the worst example, and the first thing you see is a bunch of fans coming up or fans trying to get autographs and holding shit out. No, that's not the time, the place. And I know Kevin Owens has talked about it. If I see a wrestler out in public, just out on the bout, I might come up and say hi, like I'm a fan. I just want to, thank you for, the experiences you've given me. I'm not asking him to sign shit. You shouldn't. You should just go
Mm.
up if you're going to do anything. Just say, "Hey, I'm a fan. I just want to say thank you." Move along. If they want to talk, you could talk. If not, let them do their thing.
When I worked at a steakhouse down where I was living in West Virginia at one time, and Chris Jericho and Heath Slater came in to eat. So I went up, at that point I was wrestling in West Virginia, whatever. But I went up, I was like trying to say hey to Jericho. Jericho didn't seem like he was too interested. I was like, cool, no problem. Went over to talk to Heath Slater. We had a 5 minute conversation, and that was it. I left him alone. That. I feel like that's how it should be. But some of these fans will sit there and feel like, oh, you owe me, you got to sign this, and they're not fans, but they'll just turn around and sell it.
Yeah. I think the weirdest ones are the ones that do that at the gym because at the gym you're going to have your own mental space anyway. So coming up to talk to someone at the gym can be off-putting to begin with, let alone trying to be like, "Hey, I'm a fan. I need autographs." Like, no, they need to just work out and need to leave the fuck alone.
I I halfway agree with that because I feel like a gym is a public enough space where a conversation about lifting or whatever you're doing seems more natural. You're like, hey, you know what, like, because a lot of guys at the gym they will sit there and have a conversation about sets and techniques to do things. So I feel like the gym is a little bit more of an opening space, but at the same time, I wouldn't want to interrupt somebody just for them to sign an autograph.
Yeah, I think because so like I do strongman, I do powerlifting, and I come from that versus like the typical just going every day to the gym. So for me, when you go to the gym, yeah, you can talk and stop and say, hey, what you have advice, sets, things like that. But especially for those top level athletes, you need to give them more of their space. Maybe say hi, real quick thing, but give them their space because that's one of their only spots where they can just focus on themselves and kind of get out of their own head before they go back to meet and greets and media tours and getting back in the ring. That's their kind of like personal time. So for me, I'm always more hesitant, especially with those top level athletes.
That's absolutely a fair statement. You mentioned earlier that you had a hot take that you would like to share. Would you like to go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, so I actually wrote down a few of them just so I didn't forget. So I can run through a few of them, and we can go
Hey, you
with
don't gotta run
whichever
through. We can
one we
talk.
talk about. So the first one I want to talk about is Jade Cargill is not a main eventer, and she is suffering from the same thing that Killer Cross did in NXT after Adam Cole ripped him apart. She's got really good presentation. She's really media friendly. She's got a really good look. She has not improved in the ring, and she is not real good on the mic. She should have spent more time in NXT. She should have developed more. I don't think she really got as much training in AEW as she needed. They just were good on presenting her, especially with that undefeated streak. And WWE has no idea what to do with her because at this point they're pushing her too far without having those foundational skills. You look at her and Tiffany; they could put on a mostly decent match, and Tiffany's still green. She still knew she's the champ, but she's still green and you're getting botches and injuries. And again, she's not good on the mic. That might just be me. I don't think she's good. I think she's boring as shit. She says the same shit every time. I think she's incredibly boring, and they're going to burn her out, and it's going to be another Cross situation, except Cross can work. She can't.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. That's the only thing I would say, and I would push back slightly on Jade. is that she hasn't improved because me personally, I have seen incremental improvements in how her matches have gone. Now, is she out there having the 5-star matches? No. But for me, watching her work, like her match against Tiffany, the second one, was far better than the SummerSlam one.
Oh yeah, they had more time to
Now,
work with.
I'm yeah, now I can't really disagree about the mic skills because she hasn't wowed, but she hasn't really been on the mic a lot either. It's just been kind of backstage stuff or
No,
whatever, which protect people from their weaknesses.
right. What I think is instead of bringing her over and immediately pushing her through SmackDown and putting her with the trio with Naomi and with Bianca, because they helped carry her on initially. They
Hmm.
should have pushed her to NXT and had her be, a forever NXT champion for a couple of years. That way she gets the more one-on-one time, she gets more house shows, she gets better presentation and better, coverage for those weak spots while she's learning, especially with someone like Shawn Michaels, because the biggest thing I think Jade needs is the timing. Because that's what's holding her back in my eyes on a lot of her matches is you'll see her stutter going into the next sequence because she's panicking to get to it, or I don't know if she's forgetting a step in between or what it is, but the timing is off there, and that's messing up a lot of her matches. So more time in NXT, especially with Shawn Michaels, I think would have been night and day when she came up to the main roster.
That I could agree with that. I could definitely agree with that. Any time with Shawn Michaels is going to be a plus. So
Right.
that's okay. What's the next one you got on your list?
Roman Reigns' most recent world title, the 4 years of, the bloodline, only had three good moments, three good stories in that entire thing. And that was
Sammy.
no, I wouldn't even say Sammy because that wasn't a Roman
Okay.
title story. That was a bloodline story. Roman and
Okay.
his title specifically only had three things that stood out. That was Royal Rumble 2022 with Seth. That was the Forever feud with Kevin Owens. And that was finishing the story with Cody. Because if you look back at any of those matches and any of those stories, they all end the same way once he got past Jey Uso initially. Every match is, hey, we're going to spam three finishers. Roman's going to kick out. Roman's going to hit his spears. We're going to have the babyface come back. One of the Samoans is going to come out and interfere, and it's either going to be DQ or sheet finish every single time. At least with the storyline build up with Seth, it was more one on one psychological. You had the callbacks to the Shield, and obviously that played into the Cody story. The fact that he didn't actually really beat Seth in 2022 at the Royal Rumble, I think built up a lot of that. Kevin constantly fighting all the Samoans is going to be a thing forever unless he retires. I think between him, Jimmy, Jay, Roman, hell, he's going to come back and go after Solo and the MFTs at this point, just because I don't think he likes the Samoans anymore. I think that really helped build Roman and how tough he was. Because when Roman initially came back, he destroyed Braun, he destroyed, Bray RIP. But I think what started really building him as like the dominant champion were those crazy wild matches with Kevin Owens and showing how dominant he can be in those things. But overall, the stories were never good. Even when you had Edge and Daniel Bryan, two of the greatest workers ever, it still wasn't that great of a build up for Roman, I think, because it was more focused on the dynamic of, hey, Edge won the Rumble, but Daniel Bryan's inserting himself, and now we have to carry this. Roman's also there, and he's going to get the win. And while it's cool he pinned both of them, Vince, it didn't really build him up as much as they wanted. It's
Yeah, especially since
very,
both of them are gone.
yeah, it's very much Vince started the championship trying to make him cool and forcing it down like he always had. But they never had really the stories for the 4 years to justify it or the matches for it. Even if you look at Brock. Now, I used to be a huge Brock guy. Obviously, the shit he's done in the background has been horrific, allegedly. But You look at those matches. Were they cool because it was Roman and Brock? Or was it cool because they did stupid shit with lots of interference? Like Brock F5ing Paul, the tractor with the ring, the fucking flipping the mic and Roman catching it. It wasn't the matches itself. It was, hey, we just need to get more belts on him. Brock will work with anybody and sell for anybody when we need him to. But again, it's Brock fucking killed him, and then the other Samoans jumped him and caused the finish. It wasn't Roman being a dominant badass like they presented it. He was a chicken shit heel for 4 years.
Okay, I like. All right, that's an interesting one. Okay,
Roman's
what else
good.
you got?
They write him bad.
Yeah.
Um, I would also put out there, and we talked about this a little bit. As much as it is hated, we needed Triple H's reign of terror on Monday Night Raw back in the early 2000s because no one else could hold that main event spot believably, especially when you had crazy shit going on SmackDown and how hot SmackDown was at the time. You can't drop the ball on Raw, your flagship show. So you had Triple H and Shawn Michaels. They passed it a little bit back and forth with the title, but overall you have Kane, who can't talk in character well enough to be the world champion, and Katie Vick. You have RVD, who couldn't pass enough tests and talk on the mic well enough to be world champion at the time. Randy Orton and Batista were going to be being built up. You had Cena on SmackDown. And the biggest one that I have an issue with is Goldberg, because as soon as he came over, they pushed him to the moon. And the Elimination Chamber of 2003 is the biggest, like, FU I think Goldberg could have done outside of beating Bray for the title. Is they wanted Goldberg to win the Chamber. All the reports, all the interviews, they wanted him to win the Chamber. But Goldberg did not want to go to Australia. He did not want to do the tours. That's why you had Triple H and them little bike shorts come out and win, keep the belt long enough to do the tour and come back and then drop it to Goldberg. Because, and I will say this till my dying day, as cool as the spear is, Goldberg is selfish and terrible for wrestling.
You would get zero pushback from me on Goldberg. Was Goldberg cool back in the day? Sure, yeah. It was a different time. But if it kind of goes back, if you break down his matches, what was his best matches during the streak?
I honestly wouldn't be able to
The
tell you. I
Nash,
like most of the matches, yeah.
the Kevin Nash match where he got tased, maybe. I mean,
I mean, his biggest op in WCW was breaking a window with his hand and cutting his arm and getting injured.
getting Goldberg taking out Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's still bitter about that to this day. Goldberg gives
The
me a headache.
the fact alone, and obviously it takes two to tango, and he didn't mean to do it. You
Of
had
course,
Goldberg end Bret Hart's career. Now, I've never been the biggest Bret Hart guy, but you cannot deny that Bret Hart is one of the greatest of all time. And his jump to WCW is incredibly horrific to look back on in hindsight, not even just from the Goldberg ending his career, giving him all the medical issues he has, and Bret Hart being a generational hater. I aspire to be like you. But they shafted him with the Starrcade storyline. The only good thing that we got out of Bret Hart going to WCW was him putting the steel plate under his shirt and taking out Goldberg when he goes for a spear. That is the only good thing we got out of that.
I remember that. I remember that. I also remember the famous finger poke of doom. That was good times.
I mean, I will say WCW at that point did have some fun moments, like Kevin Nash getting out of the wheelchair with the fake leg. That will
Oh
always be a
yeah.
highlight for me.
You remember when they used to have like the swimming pool around the
Mhm.
when they did Nash at the beach? Yeah, that was
Oh yeah.
cool. What what's
Honestly,
another hot take you got?
oh, another hot take I got is as much as he is synonymous with TNA and that he was a world champion in TNA, WWE presented AJ Styles as more of a main event than TNA ever did. Now, That's a hot take for a lot of people because a lot of people are diehard TNA AJ over anything, especially with that Cena match that he had coming out in the old bicycle shorts and the old gear. I wish they would have done Get Ready to Fly. It's my own thing. But you look at most of the main storylines that AJ was put in TNA, and it was when he was world champion, he was surrounded by groups that were helping him, and it was other people getting involved with Fortune and Immortal and dealing with the main event mafia, and even when he came back as emo biker AJ, it was him versus Dixie, and then Magnus was also there. He comes to WWE, and although they fuck up the camera angle again because of Roman, he debuts immediately big pop, and not long after he's winning WWE titles, he's taking on Dean Ambrose, now Moxley, in main eventing SmackDown, and all those building it. You know, the house that AJ built. All of his matches with Cena. You had his Boneyard match against Taker. And I will say this, and this also might be a hot take, but I think Prime AJ is better than Prime Shawn Michaels, and I do think Shawn Michaels is the greatest of all time. Because I cannot name a single bad match or anything honestly less than 4 stars, and I think he's a safer worker than Prime HBK was, especially another example, James Ellsworth. AJ could have killed Ellsworth because he didn't tuck his non-existent chin, and he still managed to save his ass off the Styles clashes.
Well, with the Styles Clash, you have to actually do the opposite. You have to kind of put your head back because if you tuck your
Yeah,
chin, that's how Yoshikatsu broke his neck because he
yeah, and
tucked
if
his
you if
chin
you
and took it.
yeah if you look, there was a match in TNA where AJ did that to Stevie Richards and just folded him like a lawn chair, but was able to instead of just jump, just kind of lean forward into it and angle it just right to still kind of protect him. And then with Ellsworth on SmackDown, he would basically overemphasize shit to make sure he wasn't landing on his head. Versus as good as Shawn Michaels is, he still had some issues. He couldn't protect people well enough. He also, I think, one of the differences is Shawn was working with bigger guys than AJ was, so AJ has more variety in his tool set that puts him over Prime versus Prime for me.
That's an interesting debate.
One
As
match away.
we go ahead and wrap up, I want to play a quick game with you. I will give you 5 people, and you are to give me an honest opinion of these 5 people.
Gotcha.
All right. Number one, let's go with Dominic Mysterio.
He's going to be the better Mysterio at the end of the day.
Let's see. I knew I liked it. Number two, Maxwell Jacob MJ.
I think he is incredibly talented, but I think he's overrated.
Okay. Naomi.
Underappreciated. She's honestly one of the better performers, and congrats on her and Jimmy, Big Jim. But I think this world title reign would have cemented her. I think she's way underappreciated.
Maxine Dupree.
I think she's incredible. She's come a long way really fast, and her matches with Becky right now are proving that.
And seeming to be the big hot topic of the wrestling world, main event, Jay Uso.
Boring. I think he's real boring. He got over because of a 4 letter word, yeet. But I mean, the man has a Samoan drop, a shitty spear, a super kick, and a splash, and all of his promos are the same. I don't think he's that good. I think Jimmy's better. I think Jay just got over because he became a meme.
Interesting. I do hate his spear. I do hate his spear. He had one really good spear. Who was it on? Oh god, it was a while ago. That's pretty bad. It might have been Austin. No, it wasn't Austin Theory. That was a really bad one.
I
Yeah.
honestly think Jimmy has. I think they should push Jimmy to that same level because Jimmy has more tools in his arsenal and he's better on the mic. Jey Uso is the lesser Uso brother and should not have been world champion.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else you would like to say or plug? I want to also thank you for the conversation. I would definitely love to have you back on again to talk more wrestling. But is there anything that you would like to say or plug?
Uh, don't be an asshole. Genuinely, don't be an asshole to people. Be nice to people. I'm on Twitch, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Heathen Moose. And I would like to say for anybody who's on the fence, watch AEW on Max.
All right, fair
Thanks
enough.
for having me
Well,
on.
thank you for having you on, sir. If you ever want to come back on, you are more than welcome. The chair is now empty. I want to thank our guests. Thank you for watching. And if you want to be the guest, please just send me a message on the TikTok, the Book of Face, YouTube, whatever, all those fun little apps. I'm on all of those. Stay safe, stay blessed, and y'all have a good time.